You know how it is. 1 minute you're laughing, everything's smooth, feeling that warm breeze on your face. Then bam, the wind picks up, the clouds get heavy, and you can feel a shift in the air. Maybe it's a job loss that hits you like a bolt of lightning. Maybe it's a health scare that feels like a relentless downpour. Or maybe, just maybe, it's those tough times that creep into your heart or your relationship, making the waters choppy, the boat feel like it's going to capsize. We've all been there, haven't we? When those dark clouds gather over your love and you wonder, how are you going to make it through?
Ever been left speechless by the ridiculousness of modern dating? Or maybe you're more old school. Yeah, like seriously, what were we thinking with those pickup lines in the 90s? This is I'll Explain All This Later, the podcast where we dissect the crazy world of relationships. From dating app disasters to in-law interventions, we'll cover it all. Now, some of our takes might be a little hot, but hey, that's what you get when you press play and tune in. We'll explain the logic behind it all. Eventually. Anyway, let's dive in.
Y'all already know what it is, and what it's always gonna be. Now, this season has been it's been really going the way that I wanted to go lately. So I'm gonna keep pushing towards that narrative. Shout out to my boy Baylor the Great. I had a chance to listen to his latest episode, man. And if you haven't, go check it out. Baylor the Great for President. Dope ass podcast. You know, I just want to say that the words of my guest and my co-host are not the words of Big Smash, whether I co-sign with them or not. Shout out to King Germ. Shout out to Rodish. Shout out to Dolly. Shout out to DLP. Shout out to Styles. Shout out to Miss Wine Time. Shout out to Karen L. Shout out to all these dope creatives, man. Shout out to Raw. Shout out to Flan. Shout out to Tara. Man, listen, our community is dope when you put a bunch of dope creatives together and it becomes something wonderful. Tonight, I thought I'd dive into something that, you know, has been on my mind for a while. And, you know, it's easy to love someone. It's easy to build with someone. Shout out to Coach G also while we at it. It's easy. Shout out to Mike Thomas. It's easy to love someone when everything is going good. It's easy to love someone when you're happy. It's easy to get along with that person. It's easy to build with that person. It's easy to love because everything is falling in place. What happens when the chips are down? What happens when there's no money coming in? What happens when you guys are no longer sexually compatible? What happens when someone gets sick? What happens if it's a long distance and you're not able to be around your person 24/7? What happens if they gain a little weight? What happens if, you know, they go to jail or, you know, y'all end up homeless? Like, there are a bunch of scenarios that I could bring up. Can you still show the love then? Can you still love them then? Can you still value them then? Are they still important to you then? Do you still see forever then? Adversity is a big part of relationships that they don't really tell y'all about. See, you have these things in these moments where people will love you when the bottles is popping. The money is right. Y'all got the cars and the cribs and the jobs and the incomes and y'all living a life. What happens when those things drift away? What happens when the love ain't hitting like it used to? Do you give up? Do you quit? Do you run? I'm going to be completely honest. There's a lot of times in my life that I was in relationships like earlier on when I didn't have money, when I didn't have, you know, the bare necessities that a lot of dudes should have. And there was moments that I didn't have those things. You know, there was moments in my life that I didn't even have a bank account. I was there was times I didn't have a job. For the better part of my children's lives, the earlier years, I did not have a 9 to 5. I had a job. I had a business. Right when there was CDs and DVDs, when they were booming the way that they was, that was my income. That was my hustle. I didn't have a 9 to 5. That was my 9 to 5. I was up every day from 8 to 8 in the streets, pushing it. I had a certain goal that I had to come home with. Sometimes I made it, sometimes I didn't. If I didn't make it, I'm up bright and early trying to figure it out, how to get it. But I will say this, the relationships that I was in, they held me down. They supported, they knew that it wasn't, going to be hundreds and hundreds and thousands of dollars off bat, but they saw the dream, they saw the vision. And, that's why, those relationships still are near and dear to me. Even if we aren't together, I still have love because I remember the dark days. I remember when we was trying to figure out how we was going to get our next meal. I remember when the CDs and DVDs wasn't selling the way they were supposed to. And then we had to figure out how we going to get these kids Pampers and things like that. And so there was a time where in a relationship, I felt like I have to go harder. That was one relationship that changed that. And again, it made me a better person. It made me realize that sometimes it ain't about what you got. It's who you are inside. And a lot of times when I would get in relationships, the first thing I want to know is, are you here for me or are you here for what you think you can get out of me? Because if you're here for what you think you can get out of me, I can promise you, it ain't going to work the way that you want it to. So I think relationships are balanced sometimes. You have to stand there when everything isn't the way that you visualized it to be. You shouldn't quit. I'll admit I was definitely a quitter at a lot of things because honestly, I got tired of carrying the weight, carrying the burden of having to do everything by myself. Like I felt like shit, if I'm in a relationship and I'm by myself and I have to do everything by myself, then why am I in this relationship? Because at the end of the day, I needed to be able to do my own thing. But also I needed you to be able to do your own thing. And then I needed us to come together as a group because that was important to me. And that was days, again, where I didn't know where the next meal was going to come from. I was 25 with 3 kids. I didn't know sometimes when my meals was going to come from. I didn't know if we was going to have hot water. I didn't know if we was going to have heat in the crib when it was cold out. I didn't know these things because I just didn't know. When I had my first son, it was a struggle. I was in the streets and my money was going to unnecessary shit. I still took care of my kid, but the money was coming out faster than it was coming in. And I ain't gonna lie, she quit on me because she felt like we was at a dead end and we wasn't gonna move anywhere. My second child situation, it was the same way. Like I see the vision, but these bills is piling up. My third child, same way. I see these visions, but these bills are piling up. So again, it was like having 3 kids. All these situations are going on. Money is tight, money going out, money ain't coming in. And so then, I made the decision, all right, cool. I have to do something different. At that point, I changed my whole strategy. You know what I'm saying? I went into business with someone else instead of trying to do everything on my own. And that brother, shout out to my boy J-Mo, that brother changed my life in so many ways because I'm telling you, he was a brother that really looked out for me. He had his own CD and DVD business and he was where I destined myself to be. Like that man is number one to me because everything that I learned about being a businessman came from him. Everything that I learned about how to stand tall and do what you got to do for your family came from him. So he allowed me an opportunity to work with him and make some money and keep the income flowing for my kids and for my family and things like that. And I learned so much watching that man work because, again, we was out there from sun up to sundown and we was getting it, and I just think like that man allowed me to put food on my table. There were days that I didn't have a dime to my name, and he came through and said, "All right, here, man, take this." You know what I'm saying? Here, I got you. Shit like that. So you got to be appreciative of people like that. And so that's how I was in relationships. There was times that I knew I was down. And there was times that they had it and I didn't. And to me, that was a true partnership. That was a true understanding, because if you ain't got it and I do, then, when I get back up, I got you. Because I remember how you had me when I was down. I had women that left me in the cold because I didn't have enough money. I knew women that left me because I had too many kids. I knew women that left me because, I wasn't getting their hair and nails and all that other shit. It was rough. I'm not going to cater to somebody that can't cater to me. I had women, oh, I got a pussy, so I feel like, yeah, you should do everything. You should do everything. Ain't no 50-50. You should do everything. And, again, those type of relationships are not bad relationships to have. So I just think it was okay to have those type of relationships, but I wanted more. All right, I remember when I was down on my luck, 2022. And I remember I had lost my job. And I was married at the time. And I had lost my job. And I remember, because I had been with this job for so long, I had been with them for so long. And the shame and the embarrassment of losing my job over something stupid, doing everything that we trying to do, was shameful in itself. For me, I was shamed. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't even come off and tell her that I lost my job. So I played it off. I did my thing. I did everything I could, everything I was supposed to do to keep bringing money in, to keep bringing income in. And that's the reason why the cable business started up, because I needed to guarantee I had some type of money coming in, always. That was just my thing. I needed that money to come in every script. So even if I didn't have a 9-to-5, I still had dope-ass income coming in, because these kids can't afford to wait. My lady couldn't afford to wait. So it was just like, I got to get out here and get it, and I lost my job, and I remember the embarrassment, and it was like, yo, we already dealing with a bunch of shit, and me coming off and telling her this is only going to make matters worse. So we already back against the wall. Bills is piling up. At that time, we had a lot of kids. We had 9 kids between me and her. So the kids, it was always going to be a struggle, So I hid the fact that I didn't have a job for about a month. I hid that shit. And I felt like I shouldn't have. I felt like I should have just been open. I should have been honest, because the strain of trying to catch up. And I mean, I was out here getting it. I was going to get it any way I could. I was going to get it. That was my mission. I just knew that I had to do everything that I was trying to do, everything that I wanted to do. I knew I had to do it. So I was just in this space of failure wasn't an option. You ain't going to throw in the face that you had to carry everything, because I ain't have a job, man. I was out here doing everything I could. I was out here cutting people grass. I was out here donating plasma. I was out here pawning shit. I was out here throwing deals for the cable. Man, I was doing everything I could to survive, dog. Like, at this point, I would have done just about anything if it meant keeping a roof over my head. That was the pride talk. That was the foolish side of me talking, because if this is your partner, it shouldn't be an embarrassment and a shameful moment. This should be your partner. Y'all should be talking to each other. And I remember those days, dog, where, again, I was doing anything and everything, borrowing, trading, whatever I could, because, them kids ain't hearing no excuses. And then after a while, it was just like, yeah, this is not the partner for you. And it sucks, you know what I'm saying? Because if you have to hide when you're down from the person that you're with, then that's not the partner for you. And then I go through the motions now where, everything doesn't work 100%, when you're dealing with someone who isn't always going to be healthy or isn't always going to be 100%. It is very difficult. You know what I'm saying? But if that's your partner, you up for the challenge. I don't care how much a person that I'm dealing with gets sick, I'm going to stand by them. Yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, it's going to be tough, but I'm going to stand by them 110% because that's what I signed up for. Doesn't matter if they rich, if they broke, if they cold, if they hot, if they up, if they down. It's all about partnership. I'm going to stand with you when the things is going good, but I'm going to disappear when the shit is going bad? Nah, that's not how that's supposed to work. Like at the end of the day, we have to keep it the same even playing field because I remember those days when I got left because I didn't have everything that everybody else had. Pretty sure there's a lot of dudes out here that have been left for another nigga that had more money than them, or another nigga that had a car, or a nigga that had was selling drugs, or whatever the case was. I'm pretty sure. And I've had situations like that happen, and it didn't make me feel no indifferent because miss one, next 15 wasn't coming. That's how I felt. You know what I'm saying? So now when I think about where I'm at and how blessed I am, it's up to me to pay it forward. So dealing with someone who's not always at their best is tough. But at the end of the day, it's rewarding because you look back and you appreciate them struggles. You appreciate not having them lights on. You appreciate sleeping on that air mattress. You appreciate going from crib to crib. You appreciate having to take them bus rides and shit like that because you ain't got a car. You appreciate those things because at the end of the day, when you do finally make it to the top, when you do finally make it to where you trying to go, you look up and you like, yeah, I remember those days. I remember those dark days, those cold nights. I remember those. I remember that. I remember when we didn't have nothing. I remember when we was eating ramen noodles for dinner, lunch, and breakfast. I remember that. I remember when the kids, you had to decide on feeding the kids and feeding yourself, and it was always feed the kids first. Always. I remember those days. I remember those going to family members and let me borrow this and let me borrow that, and they fuck around and tell you they ain't got it, but they give it to you anyway because they know your pain, they know your struggle, they know your hurt. Relationships are like that. If I'm with you and we struggling, we got to figure out together how to get out this hole. We're going to figure that out. I'm not going to quit on you because you ain't at your best, because there are some days you won't be able to get your hair done. There are some days I won't be able to get my hair cut. There's some days that I don't have money. There's some days that I do have money. There's some days that you have money, but I don't. It be like that. Okay? Every day in the relationship is not perfect. And I really want people to understand, like, there's going to be some days where the relationship just isn't perfect. It just isn't. And we're not going to sit here and act like it is. It just isn't. There are some days
when that thunder starts to rumble and the rain starts to fall. What do? Do you run for cover? Try to weather it alone, hoping it just passes over? Or do you turn to the one standing right beside you? The one that promised to walk through the fire and the floods with you. See, the real test, that's it. It's getting easy to love somebody when the sun is shining, when the birds are singing, and everything's coming up roses. But what about when the petals start to wilt? What about when the thorns poke through? This is then, for better or for worse, really kicks in. This is when you got to dig deep down and remember why you chose the person in the first place.
When things are not clicking. There's some days where things are not, it's just not working. There are going to be days like that. There are going to be days and situations and moments where everything that's supposed to go to plan isn't going to plan. There are going to be some up days and some down days. Sometimes them days might last for months. You might be down and out for months. That person might got shot and can't walk no more. That person might have lost their job and can't work no more. That person might have lost their home and don't have a place to stay. But if you my partner, we going to stick it out. We going to ride with it because that's exactly what it was designed to be. Like if I truly love you, I'm going to love you whether I'm broke, whether you broke. I'm going to love you whether I got money, whether I don't got money. I'm going to love you when it's up, when it's down, when it's in, it's out. And that's just who I am because that's what I signed up for. Has it always been like that? Absolutely fucking not. I remember the days again where I was too busy in the streets. I was running around doing frivolous, dumbass shit and watching my partner struggle. And I'm just sitting back. And it's a fucked up feeling because there are times where you have the moment to change the struggles of somebody and you rather just look out for self. I've done that. I've been selfish like that. I've seen several of my partners struggle. And it was like, yo, I've seen you do it. You know, I've seen them struggle. And it was like, all right, well, what do you want me to do about it? You know, and then it was just like, because at that time, I just felt like if you wasn't really with me, why am I going to be with you? And there's a lot of times that I know that, you know, I consider myself at one point a person that did for a lot of people that didn't really deserve it. And, you know, you can't be nice and genuine to people nowadays because nowadays they swear you tricking off. They swear they got over on you. They swear they finessed you. And so it turns your heart a little bit for you not to want to help people. And I didn't want to help people. I didn't care about your struggles through the door. I didn't care if your lights was cut off, your phone bill need to be paid. None of that shit. I didn't care about none of that shit. If you give a damn about me, you gonna figure that shit out. You don't need me to figure it out for you. You gonna figure that shit out. And that's the type of stuff that I had to go through. Now, how do you balance that though? How do you go through the motions of being with somebody who doesn't have everything, you know, the fixer-upper moments? They don't have everything that you have. How do you go about setting that up and helping push them to get to where you are? Easy. You let them know what you're not going to tolerate. You let them know that you're not going to half-ass and you're not going to be half-assed and you're not just going to be carrying the load. We're going to work this out together or I'm going to move around type shit. And I think a lot of people had that with me, and that's why I had that epiphany. I remember dealing with a woman, and she was a beautiful woman, okay? But at that time, me and her, we were not looking for nothing serious. We were not looking for a relationship. You know, she was still doing her, I was still doing me. We wasn't looking for it. And there was times that even though we wasn't in a relationship, she still felt like I should be helping her, you know, because she trying to elevate herself. And I looked at her in that situation like, you want me to help you push yourself to be the best version of yourself for somebody else. And it dawned on me for a minute because, again, this isn't the type of party that I was trying to have. Like, at the end of the day, if you're mine, you ain't even got to question that I got your back. You ain't got to question it. You ain't got to doubt it. You ain't got to none of that. Like, I'm here, I got your back. But there are sometimes some things get too hard. I know there's a lot of people out here saying, oh, I can't deal with somebody that's broke. I can't deal with somebody that ain't got a car. I can't deal with somebody that ain't got a house. I can't deal with somebody that ain't got a 401k, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There are a bunch of reasons why. But then you have to look back like, why can't you deal with them? Why can't you? Why can't you deal with them? Why can't they deal with you? Why can't y'all deal with each other? Why does everything have to be, you know, about materialistic things? Where's the heart at? Where's the soul? Where's the love? Can you love me if I didn't have these things? And if you can, I am going to make an honest woman out of you. That's my thought process. But if I see material, and nothing else, it's like, yeah, you are not the person for me. I feel like anybody that I'm with has to be able to understand that when I can't carry a load, I need them to do it. Because if they come up to me and they can't carry their load, here I am. I'm here to help you. Superman, big S on my chest. Super save them. Here I go. I'm right here. Like, these are the things that makes us important, makes us whole. You know what I'm saying? You just got to be able to get that money and pour into whatever it is you trying to build. You can't half-ass with it. And I'm not going to be half-ass because I don't half-ass. So I look at it like, we're going to work together. Plain and simple, we're going to figure this out. We're going to figure this out. And that's just what it is. See, teamwork isn't about only celebrating the wins. We're going to celebrate these losses too. Why? Because we're going to know where to not come back from. Because I've learned enough from my losses to know that I ain't never going back that route again. I ain't never going down that hole again. You ain't going to never get me like that again. Like, When I take back my marriage and my relationships, there's a bunch of things that I know, like, I'll never go down that road again. Ever. I ain't never gonna be told this or play like that ever again. Like, we gonna thrive, we gonna win, we gonna move, we gonna do everything that we supposed to do because we partners. If we ain't on that same page, I gotta go ahead on and move you on out the way because you holding up the line on somebody who could potentially be the partner that I'm looking for. Because at this point, at my 38 years of age, I'm about partnership and understanding. All right? And there might be times we don't have everything we want. We're going to have everything we need, though. Real talk. Listen, I didn't come on here to be here too long. This is a part one. I got plenty more on this discussion. You know, I hope I'm gonna get back to it down the line. This season we just keep pushing, we keep going, we keep staying strong and focused and motivated. I know on the previous episode I said that we was gonna be talking about narcissism, and we're going to get that. I promise you. It's a very important topic. So the co-host has to be on point. So that is something that we gonna get to y'all. Me and shout out to Coach G, man. We gonna get it to y'all. It's just a matter of time. Y'all already know what it is, man. Stick with your partner, man, through the rain, through the storm, through the sleet, through the snow. But wait. I'm gonna let my girl Cherry explain that with this next one. Y'all already know what it is. I'm out.
So how do we keep that love strong, even after the storm clouds have passed? How do we make sure the dark times don't leave a permanent scar? Well, it starts with remembering what got you here. Cherish those memories. Talk about them. Let them remind you of the strength that you had together. The storms will come. That's just part of life. But it's how you weather them together that truly defines the strength and beauty of your love. So next time the sky starts to darken, don't despair. Turn to your partner, hold them close, and remember, the fiercest storms eventually pass. And when the sun finally breaks through, that's when the love that you nurtured through the rain will shine even brighter.
Thanks for listening to I'll Explain All This Later. Please like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And join us again next time for more outlandish takes on relationships and the dating life.